Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Project ALS Prosetin live stream, your weekly update on all things Prosetin. Erin Fleming is co-pilot for today's discussion with our special guest, who's just an extremely effective advocate for human health, Sandy Morris. Welcome, Sandy.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to be here.
It's just great to see you. And you guys out there, we all hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend. Please send Sandy Morris, Erin, and me your questions and comments during this conversation. So before we meet Sandy, a quick sort of high-level review just for context. What even is Prosetin? Prosetin's a promising ALS drug candidate that Project ALS will deliver to clinical trial in the shortest time possible. Yes, COVID has slowed us down by a few months, but with you, we can get back on track. So we need you to please give as you can in these difficult times. Please go to www.prosetin2020.org. That's Prosetin, Prosetin 2020.org. Give $5, $10, $100, $1,000. Kidding, not kidding, not kidding. We're actually not. I mean, if you got it, give it to us, please. So why are we excited about Prosetin? Well, evidence for starters, peer-reviewed scientific evidence that Prosetin, a new small molecule drug, may slow the ALS disease process. So in every experiment completed to date, Prosetin, it appears to scientists, Prosetin gets into the brain, a big plus when you want to treat ALS. Prosetin was developed from scratch specifically for the treatment of ALS. It interrupts a cell stress pathway that's been implicated in the disease. Prosetin rescues motor neurons, the very brain cells that are destroyed in ALS. And Prosetin will be administered as an oral suspension, at least in the first clinical trial. What we mean by that is kind of C-liquid Tylenol. If anybody's ever seen that, that's an oral suspension. And so, you know, these live streams have been really great. We focused a lot on the science behind the promise of a new drug candidate, in this case, Prosetin. But today, Project ALS wants you to know that research is but one piece of the puzzle. Getting new drugs like Prosetin to patients whose lives depend on their right to try hopeful new drugs requires effective, non-stop advocacy. Look up advocacy in the dictionary, and you may well see a picture of today's guest. Sandy Morris is a businesswoman from Lake Tahoe, a wife and mother of 3. Sandy was diagnosed with ALS in January 2018 at age 51. In 2 years as president of the I AM ALS Advisory Council, Sandy has led significant efforts to improve clinical trials. She's become a critical connection to the Food and Drug Administration, to our elected leaders, drug companies, and the ALS community toward humane, accessible, and improved drug development for people with ALS. Welcome to the live stream, Sandy Morris.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
It's so great to see you, and thanks for spending time with us today. So I just had a first question, and then our co-pilot Erin Fleming will take over and ask you the hard-hitting stuff. But kind of like our ancestors before us, Project ALS really believes that the personal is political. And I was wondering if you could start by telling us all how ALS entered your life, and then the second part of that is when you realized that ALS advocacy was your calling.
Okay, you bet. Welcome to my personal life. I was diagnosed with ALS January 6, 2018, at the ripe old age of 51, as Valerie said. And I was tripping on my right foot. My flip-flop was not flopping, and I was slapping, but I was looking it up on Google and thinking, you know, why is my flip-flop not flopping? And it was coming up with foot drop. And I was like, no, this is not a neuro disease. This is a pinched nerve, because my husband was teaching me how to ride, and I was in a wrong size saddle. Like all the all the things you think of before you are diagnosed with ALS. Everybody has their personal story about what it could have or should have been. But unfortunately, it was ALS. So it has traveled up, just for another personal thought there, it has traveled up my right leg and my left leg. So I'm fully paralyzed. I am in a wheelchair full time. I'm lucky to have all the incredible wheelchairs I have, here at the home and at our property, and just kind of everywhere I go, I'm followed by wheelchairs, and I'm grateful. I still have, somewhat use of my arms. And as you can tell, for those poor legislators and anyone else who has to listen to me, my voice is still pretty strong. So I work on that level.
Like a bell.
Yeah. I don't know when I don't think you ever I don't think there's a day that you realize you're an ALS advocate. I don't think it really works that way, Valerie. But I think what happened just alongside so many others is that you just start digging. It's the American spirit of I'm going to beat this. I'm going to beat this. Hang on. I just got to figure out what this is. Then we'll get the root cause. We'll find the money. Once I tell people what it is, they will care enough to help me. Humanity will look at this wicked disease that has impacted my family. They are going to lean in and they are going to tell me the next right step, and away I go. That's sadly not ALS. And as I can tell you, this is where I get emotional, and I don't want to get emotional in the business of doing ALS, but it's your sister, Valerie. When I watched your sister say, "I'm sorry, that is not acceptable," or "How did you take a human heart out of one body, put it into another, and away you go and you're beating, and you tell me I have nothing?" She just fueled me, right? So here I am in this desert land looking for a cool drink of water, and I hear your sister, and I'm thinking, she's exactly right. And it's how many years ago, and away we go, because I will not let the next 51-year-old mother of 3 hear, "You have ALS, you will die in 2 to 5 years. There is nothing we can do about it."
Oh, yeah?
There sure is. And it might not be in my time frame. It might not, but there is absolutely something you can do about it. So if you hear those words and you let them sink in, I'm telling you right here and now, don't. You fight. You fight for a better way. And that's, I guess, where the advocacy started. I don't know.
You're a born advocate, Sandy. So Erin and I really want to get it kind of not into the weeds. I hate that. What does that even mean? But anyway, we want to learn more specifically how your advocacy is changing situations for people with this disease. So Erin, take us away on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we'll get into a lot of details, but one of the big things that strikes me about the work that you're doing is how much of an expert you are in ALS clinical trials. I suspect you know more than many people at the FDA, you know more than most neurologists, you just know everything there is to know about ALS clinical trials. And I'm wondering where that focus comes from. How has your experience informed where you've really focused in your ALS advocacy?
I love that question, Erin, because so my heart for clinical trial, usually when you find your passion or your heart, it's because it impacted you. Something outraged you, right? It hit you to your soul. And that's where I started. So I was told when I devastated, of course, my family and my friends with the news, and everybody, they're all so very smart and capable, and they had every reason for how and why I should be able to survive this. So my best friend said, "You need to get into a clinical trial. My husband had cancer, then you're going to get the drug afterwards. It'll be the latest, the greatest. You're now on the groundbreaking stuff that's going to save you." And I said, "Okay, well, there, away I go." So I got into, what I thought was the most game-changing trial at the time. I was thrilled. I still, to this day, just feel incredibly blessed. It was a very invasive procedure with a 50% chance of placebo and no ability to get the drug afterwards. And I heard your sister's words in my ears again, Valeria. That is not acceptable. So I did it. I happily did it. I would do it again and again. I would join every clinical trial I could, frankly, that looked like it had some signaling that might work for my ALS. But it really fueled me to say, how in the world did we get here? Our line in I AM ALS is, we are not zebrafish. It's the WANS clause. Do not treat us like animals. Please do not ask me to be in a trial that you would not put your own mother or your own daughter in. We can do better. And we did. So this is the part I feel good about. There's so much we're working on, so many irons in the fire, as you say, but where we can do better is that you need to tighten up this guidance. This guidance is written for zebrafish, and I am a human. And we brought about the wording that worked, and we got it. And we grabbed now what looked like a human clinical trial, and we ran through the streets like Charlie and Willy Wonka with the golden ticket out to the drug sponsors to say, look now what we're saying here. And also look now, the FDA is giving us a supportive stance on expanded access. Here we go. Grab our hands. We won't leave you. We will partner with you. And we are so grateful right now. We are working with at least 18 drug sponsors each and every week to say, what do you think about what we've coined them is the gold standards clinical trial design? You guys know them very well because you're doing all of that so well. I'm so proud. That's, so much of the reason I can be here with you guys, because I so support your work and I so support, how patient-centric you are. Some companies were not. And we've really been embraced. I have to say, these companies really actually like what we're doing to say, here's the first step, the next step, we can help you. Here's how you can do it. Even a small EAP. We understand expanded access is expensive alongside already your expensive drug development. We're so happy you've brought the science to our disease. Let us help you get more slots. We call it seats on the bus. Today, in the most exciting time of ALS, there are 688 seats on the bus for investigational therapies. There are 30,000 US patients. Right. We need a bigger, better bus. That is not a big ask. We are not asking for anything that other disease states don't have. We're merely asking to catch up.
Right. Can I just jump in? Because for some people who are watching today, they may not understand the relationship between I AM ALS and, say, Project ALS. Erin and I work with Project ALS. Our mission is 100% focused on, I'm really into the donate today thing, but focused on identifying promising ALS research and funding those research efforts. Can you tell us just a little bit about I AM ALS and how we come together and how we must continue to come together to provide patients with more options?
Absolutely. Well, I AM ALS loves Project ALS. I mean, Sandy Morris loves Valerie and Erin. I mean, we have a very tight relationship with what you guys do. We have such a great respect of what you guys do. You are really, I used a phrase earlier, Street Fighter, that I just borrowed from Krista Thompson this morning. But you guys are really the trailblazers. You're out there saying, we have this drug. We're not selling it out to anyone else that will slow the progress of this drug down. We know how to move along this. You've already lived this with your sister, Valerie. So you have that urgency in your heart. You work on the ALS clock. So does Erin. And that's what I AM ALS is looking for, right? So we are not looking for, we don't want, it's tough when we hear ALS, the ALS community really put all their eggs in one basket for one drug. I really want X. I want A, I want B, I want C. What I AM ALS is saying is that we want pathways to all of the advancing science. We want pathways to your drug. We want to help you get your drug out there. We want those drugs in our body right now, like yesterday, right? And so I AM ALS and Project ALS have absolutely very similar principles in what we do. We work on the ALS clock. We're moving forward in a disease that has so very little, and really understanding, how to press forward against all the barriers, all the man-made barriers we're up against. And you guys do it so well. I mean, you have great navigation skills, and we're really so impressed with that.
And I would just say, from our perspective, it's so incredible to have people like Sandy and I AM ALS out there, because Project ALS, is trying to move forward with urgency, but we're a pretty small group. We're 100% focused on research, as Valerie said. We don't have a strong background in advocacy and legislation. We don't have a group that's focused on that. So without these pathways that are created through Congress and the Senate and through advocacy, we're not going to be able to maximize our efficiency in research. And so the ability for different groups with different focuses to both be on the same page about our goals, I think is something that's been really meaningful to us, to be able to work with Sandy and others, to really try to put these pieces together, hopefully.
Absolutely. And yeah, we need to be bolstering your efforts, bolstering what you're doing. We don't want you to be working on the legislative work or the advocacy.
No.
We want you working on the science. We are not scientists. I never wanted to be a doctor or a scientist. I want you guys to bring forward the promising therapies that are going to work for the ALS vintage now and the future ALS, vintages, if you will. And we want to run right alongside of you. I mean, we're so proud to do that.
So I wanted to circle back a little bit, Sandy, because you talked about the FDA ALS guidance and you kind of mentioned it offhand, like, there's a guidance that we show to industry, but actually you fought for almost a year to get the first ever FDA ALS guidance passed. It was issued last September, in September 2019. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about sort of the advocacy that you had to take to get there, what that gives you, and then where we go from there. I mean, it's a document on the FDA website. Like, what does that actually mean for ALS clinical trials?
Oh yeah, you bet. God, where did we start? I don't know. Sometimes you look at something and it's already a check mark and you really can't even remember all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it.
Yeah.
There was that's where we had to start, because when we were working with drug sponsors, they would say, we would love to help you, but we have to follow what the FDA is saying. So then we saw the root cause, right? Okay, great. They're not going to be comfortable enough working with, a patient group if they don't know that they have the backing of course, the FDA and the power there to get through trials through. Everybody, these drug companies want to get their drugs to us. They do. There is a process. Sadly, we have been told for all these years, it's the same lane as Viagra and sunscreen, acne medication. We have seen, thank you, COVID, that's not true. There are faster lanes. We intend to use those faster lanes. We have seen what actually can be done, and we are not a pandemic, so I'm not trying to be dramatic. Everything that happened in the COVID had to happen in the COVID. I applaud those efforts, but now I know we can go faster. So they will be seeing that and hearing that. And if anybody out there is listening, you remind them that we saw what could happen in the COVID, and we will never go back to the sunscreen lane. So I will need your bolstering efforts with that. So basically what we did though is that the FDA had like a comments docket section and a deadline. And so everybody put all their words in there and said, this is for animals. What did we really think was happening here? Because I think when they got that draft out, they thought it was better. And that gave me chills down my spine. If that was better, I didn't want to see the initial one. And we met with the FDA. We did letter after campaign, letter after call, after meeting. We met with them twice. And the commissioner came in. We made it very serious. It's very common sense. That one really bothers me, frankly, because it was such a crude place, a starting point, such a crude starting point. Like, how were we ever even there? How was it different for oncology and HIV and AIDS? Why was ALS, had all these different rules? So we changed that, and they listened and they inputted all that and they got that out. It was still a long time. And I want to say this, though, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. We're bringing forward the work that so many incredible ALS advocates had already brought up to them. I listened to conferences and could almost start crying, thinking they're saying the same thing I'm saying. How are we going to get this across the line if they weren't able to? But again, it's truly the standing on the shoulders of giants and moving forward the work that others have done. And in ALS, this is the saddest thing. It is a leg race. You must take that person's baton before you. And I am asking anybody who's listening to take my baton. Run faster, further. It is the only way we're going to get ALS to the place that it needs to be and have the protocols and the pathways that we so deserve.
Yeah. So, you fought through this document that basically said nothing into a document that gave industry, that gave drug companies some ideas about how they could push the boundaries with ALS. And I know that you think about this as just a starting point. So I wonder, maybe you could talk a little bit about what you actually want to see out of clinical trials for ALS and why you think that, having better clinical trials is so important, right? You talked a little bit about things that you found very problematic in your own clinical trial experience, but how do we make it better for drugs going forward?
How did we make it better? We put all that in there, right? Our gold standard clinical trial design, which you guys will all see soon, we will be sending it out in our Promising Therapies dashboard, which will be coming out in about 2 to 3 weeks. And we will have a column, and this is exciting. I'm going to say this and then I'll work backwards. We will have a column on that dashboard that has a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And I don't know what that looks like yet. I don't know if that's a green or a red light or a number or a smiley face or a cry face. I don't know. But we will have alongside those trials, if these companies really paid attention to the gold standard clinical trial design. That includes minimize placebos. We know placebos are important. It is an experiment. We are not stupid. That's great. You don't need 50% placebo. Watch your placebo usage, right? Run-in periods, 3 months, you're gonna watch my body demise for your experiment. That's cruel. Let's find a better way. I'm well documented. Maybe your EMG isn't going to be the exact same one I did before. Figure it out, right? Open label extension, that's post-trial treatment. Kathy Collett has a great sentence that she used. What will you do for me if this stuff works? And how sad if that drug sponsor hasn't thought about that. So now this stuff worked and you don't even get a thank you card. Away you go to get right back on that same track you were when you were falling. That's concentration camp stuff. No, thank you. And then we have wearables, novel methods like telemedicine. Look what we've learned in the COVID. You do not need somebody to sit across the table from you and ask 12 questions with 5 multiple choice for the ALS FRS R score. You are kidding me. You can see me on the Zoom screen. I can answer it for you. I can show you what I can do. I can do a local blood test. Let's really think about, we are crippled. In many cases, we don't have our voices. Let's work through this. There is a better way. People are doing it better. We can do better. Also, if your trial is going well and there is a subset of patients, or there are patients in there that are actually doing unprecedentedly well, have in your trial design that you are going to go in there and check that out. You'll go in and check if we're dying faster in a terminal illness. Like, let's really think about that. You'll go in to check if we are dying faster in a disease that will kill us. But you're not going to go in and check and see why somebody is staying still or why somebody can lift their arm more than they could the day before. Let's use our heads. So the gold standard clinical trial design has been expressed to almost every ALS drug sponsor that is coming in or is in. And what we are saying is that that will show up on that dashboard. You have listened to what is the patient-centric clinical trial, or you have not. And the ALS community cares. Because remember this, what you allow will continue. So if you continue to be allowed, if you allow people to continue to treat you like a zebrafish, you can look for that for the next 10 years. I will not be a zebrafish.
So I'm curious, Sandy, you guys at I AM ALS and you, I know, are really kind of, you're so supportive of some of the promising therapeutic candidates that are coming down the pike. Do you feel that the doctors who oversee these clinical trials are starting to think more creatively about phase 1? Are they working with drug companies to, like, is it working? Yeah. Like we can have legislation up the wazoo, yeah. But is the culture changing? Is the clinical culture changing, do you think?
It is. It is. And not fast enough, never fast enough for this disease. But let me tell you, when I first started, I had people, their arms were crossed. Their body language told me I was stupid. I didn't understand experiment. I didn't understand Science 101. I didn't understand this disease. There were no biomarkers. How dare I ask for what I was asking for? I don't have those conversations anymore, Valerie. People say you were right. We can do this. We can do, people used to say open label extension or expanded access program. And I say both. figure it out. We'll help you figure it out. We're not saying go on your own island and wreck your company that you don't have enough revenue. We will help you figure that out, but we need more seats on this bus. I don't get the same pushback that I did when I started. I absolutely think that our culture is changing. I hear the neurologists are saying words that we've been saying for years. The FDA absolutely agrees. We asked the FDA when we were with them the last time that if you see drug sponsors at your table and it doesn't appear that a patient is there, you need to say which one of you is the patient. And that will tell you that has a patient stamp of approval and that we agree with the trial design that you're using. And we're so excited for your advancing science. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm not grateful for that. I can't be more grateful for anybody that is bringing in an ALS drug that is going to save us eventually. But we need to do it in such a way that people are joining these trials, like selling out like rock concerts, and that people understand that that company respects them enough to get them the treatment post-trial, not leave them in the lurch like so many clinical trials of the past have. And sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'd love your advice because as many people watching know, a drug company is not overseeing the development of Prosetin, nor the arrival at clinical trial of Prosetin. So, we're on the verge of clinical trial, but what advice do you and I AM ALS and other ALS advocates have for us? Because in this case, Project ALS is the drug company.
Which I love.
What should we do? Boss us around.
You are playing me. You are playing me. We talked years ago and I looked at what you guys were doing and I just wanted to dance. If only my legs weren't paralyzed, I would have danced, because you have lived this, Valerie. You know what to do, the right thing for ALS patients. You guys came in and said, we will minimize placebos. We will do this on the ALS clock. With the money that we receive, we're pushing every day to get the money we need to get this out to you as fast as we can. And we absolutely will have clinical trials that are made for humans. You guys already had that. And then you said, and tell us more. I mean, the I AM ALS gold standard clinical trial design is all you need to know. It is absolutely all in there, and it might look very simple. It is a few bullets, and I cannot tell you the blood, sweat, and tears that went in that, the fighting that's went in that, and those are the important principles of it.
For the viewer who hasn't seen these and wants to read them, where can we find this guidance?
We will be posting it in the next few weeks. And I do apologize to be talking about something that's not front and center. I almost thought about we should put it up here, but we will get that out to everybody. But it's basically, it is what you would want in a trial design. It is that we said out loud, we're not going to be joining things that haven't been well thought out for humans. And I don't think anybody, it's not really like you would look at it and be like, no, I don't think so. It is basic common sense for human trials.
Well, we're really excited. Please let us know when you post.
So yeah, stay tuned to our social media on that. And I think, again, not to keep bringing this idea of working together up, but it is actually, in this case also in a specific way. So, I AM ALS is going to set the standards for ALS clinical trials, and then it's going to take people buying in and actually showing what this trial looks like, what this type of trial looks like in real life, to make, some drug companies that might think, well, people will still enroll in my trial, even if it doesn't get the I AM ALS thumbs up the first time on the website. But if you show that these trials can be done by, a nonprofit, nonetheless, and you can implement open label earlier in clinical development than normally, or you can implement an expanded access program, way earlier than most people normally do in clinical development. I think that the combination of being your feet held to the fire by Sandy Morris, and then being shown like even a small nonprofit like Project ALS can get it done, really creates a powerful environment where drug companies are going to have to, listen to what people are saying and really implement these policies. So,
and I would add to that, Erin, especially a nonprofit like Project ALS, not even though. And again, like we say, Sandy Morris, it's not Sandy Morris at all. It is the power of the patient. It is I AM ALS setting down the new rules in the wild west of the ALS disease that so many of us can't believe we're in, right? And it is the ALS community getting behind that. We are only successful if we all stand together. Sometimes we have problems with that in this community. I'll say that. I'll take a moment to say that. We fight each other. And we have to stop and sit down and recognize we are fighting this disease. We all have the same end goal. It is to ensure we have consistent, usable pathways to investigational therapies until the treatments arrive. That's it, hands down. Whatever we're doing, if you don't go back to that root of that's your mission and that's what you need, then you are off course. And we might all say things differently. We might want to approach it differently. We have very different techniques and styles. Fighting each other is a waste of time. We must fight this disease and the bureaucracy in this disease to get to the place, to get to the winner's circle. And I intend to get to the winner's circle.
So for everybody else so Sandy, I'm sorry to interrupt, but for everyone who wants to join you in that circle, like how can we become more involved with I AM ALS and your efforts? What's the best, what can we do to join the circle?
I love that. Well, everybody can join the circle. How's that? Everybody has a different capacity of what they want to do. Not everybody wants to do 8 and 9 hours of ALS calls a day. I do because I know soon my typing hand is going. My voice is softening. I have a limited time here and I have to get this out and pass my baton on to the next one who has got a great, strong voice and a fast typing hand, right? So from the very bottom, let's go Maslow's needs, right? If your name is not on the Every Community map out on I Am ALS, so imals.org/Every Community. And actually, if you just go out to I Am ALS right now, it's the first thing that pulls up and you'll see it. If you have ALS, your name should be on there. If you lost somebody to ALS, their name should be on there. If you are taking care of somebody with ALS, your name should be on there. That helps us legislatively. They say to me, why are you sitting at this table with us alone? And I say, let me pull up this map. Let me show you how many constituents in your district wish they could be here, but they are on, they can't. The mobility, they don't have a voice. They have breathing machines. I mean, we are all in this together, but we have to show that in these offices and to the FDA and to neurologists, to everybody. They need to hear how far and wide this is, right? That's the minimum. That's the minimum. Next, we have out on our Take Action page how you contact your legislator. And I'm here to tell you, anybody that's listening, contact me. I want every single legislator to have heard what ALS is at the very least. And those legislative aids change all the time. So you have to keep letting your voice resonate. You have to hit a note that they can hear. You have to tell them straight out loud, we have a disease that has absolutely nothing in 2020 in America. You can help me. I don't need you to do a thing. We are going to map out step by step where we need you legislatively, with bills, with NIH funding for EAP, whatever our next step is, because we have a caucus, that's out there too. You ask them, join the caucus. We have 134 rep members and I think 20 Senate members. The senator one just started right before COVID hit, so that was unfortunate. But the bottom line is this, that caucus is not for a caucus where they're like, well, caucuses don't really get things done. Watch us. This is not bicycles. Oh yeah.
I have a question for you, Sandy, because I think about this a lot. We hear a lot today about how government divides along, party lines. We're red, we're blue, and nothing in between. I was just wondering if, as you build this caucus and as you build awareness, do you find that there's bipartisan involvement and interest by our elected officials in ALS advocacy?
Absolutely, and that should make you sick. Like if you don't have a stomach ache right now, you should with this sentence. ALS, you would jump political parties if you thought you couldn't get ALS. ALS impacts everybody, every community, every age, every race. I mean, it takes no prisoners. So the whole fact that we ever try to draw party lines in this disease should make you sick, and you reset them and you remind them what this disease is and that it is a humanity issue. It's a social injustice. And
you actually find that legislators are meeting that with passion of their own. Like, do legislators actually care? I'm just curious, because
I love your questions, Valerie. Sadly,
Yeah.
I could sit and talk to you guys until next Thursday and bore everybody. I have said this so many times. I can immediately see in the eyes of a legislator that I am speaking with if they actually know what ALS is. There is a flicker in their eyes where they say, I know what's going to happen to you, woman. I know this disease. I've watched this disease. This is a uniquely cruel disease that does deserve a better pathway. I'm not sure how to get there, right? If it was easy, we'd already be there. And then you get the legislators who say, which is fair. Lou Gehrig had it, I think, and blah, blah, blah. And that's your opportunity to show them how uniquely cruel and 100% universally fatal disease this is. Like, you have to take the opportunity when you do not see their eyes flicker. You need to educate them what this is, because until they know what this is, Valerie, they do not care. They do not have to care, and they only care what their constituents care about. So if you are a constituent in a district and your rep is not on the caucus or your senators aren't listening, I'm telling you, call me in. They should care. ALS is on the rise. And that is documented. I will get that out to whoever wants it. 69% increase by 2040. And you know what? Then we'll care. When it impacts you, then you'll care. You can't look inside the windows of an ALS family and walk away. And you don't need to be a leader. You just need to be a human. If you see the atrocities in this disease and you can walk away, then you're nobody I need to know.
It's really helpful.
So,
yeah, go on.
Nancy, you said that, you're forming an ALS caucus. You've already gotten, a third of the House and almost a third of the Senate on board, and you're just getting started. But you said also it's not for nothing, right? And I don't mean to just be teasing so many exciting things that are happening in the ALS world, but like, what do you mean by that? And,
yeah, let me give that a go. Sorry, I can get off on too many tangents. So please always redirect me. Here's what I get, right? I hear from my senators and from reps and folks that I am acting on their behalf for their constituents is it's just a caucus. It's not, it really doesn't do anything. And I looked it up. There are beer and bicycle caucuses. I get that, like, all day long. This is not just a caucus. This is a house that we have built to be able to effectively communicate with our legislators until the treatments are here. We will not quit until ALS is a chronic disease and no longer 100% fatal disease. And so we will not make it hard on you, because we know what we want. We know the bills we need in place. We know who we're working with, the FDA, the NIH, and we will go all the way along until we are where we need to be. But this caucus is not for a general interest. This is a life-saving caucus. This is your chance to be an ALS champion and to understand not just ALS, because when we have a line on the jackpot of the disease, we now have a line on Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS. I mean, get excited. This is neurodegenerative diseases that need our help. And you can be a part of that in a time where we can control so little. You have a shot of getting your voice forward for us, on behalf of us, to make a better pathway to have this desert land turn into something that is actually usable. And they realize that, but they won't realize that until they know what it is. And you will know the difference. When you are talking to your legislators, you will know the difference of somebody who really knows ALS and somebody who doesn't. And it's up to us to make sure that they do. This caucus will walk them through, absolutely, pathways to investigational therapies until the treatments arrive, because we won't quit until we have.
I mean, I think we could just end it there, Erin. I feel like we're in great hands. In all seriousness, I mean, you're just so darn effective. I feel the wind of you and I AM ALS and the entire community behind Prosetin in our efforts to deliver Prosetin to first-in-human clinical trials. I did just want to pull us back to, the facts here that Prosetin is well on its way to clinical trial, but due to the COVID, to the pandemic and lots of things shutting down and slowing, we have lost critical time on our pathway to the clinic. So Project ALS is really trying to raise the money and close the gap so that we can get Prosetin to first ever human trial. And you know, a lot of the questions, I could see our questions today, Sandy. It's like you're a fan club, like you have many new fans, and also people with specific questions about Prosetin.
Okay, should we answer some?
Yeah. So here's one for you, Sandy, that I think will be it's sort of a softball. From Paula McDaniel, does the platform trial meet the I AM ALS guidelines? And maybe you can describe what the platform trial is for people who may not know.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I actually went to go start talking to you about that, because that is something that we are so proud of and so impressed with what those incredible neurologists are doing over in MGH and getting that off. I mean, really still working through that through COVID. I mean, that was a huge undertaking without COVID. And yes, it absolutely meets our gold standard clinical trial. Yes, I would stutter over that. We still need to work on expanded access, and we are. And that is expensive, and that is a overall problem for many, many drug sponsors, and we know that. But the leaders over there could have written the gold standard clinical trial design without us, and absolutely, that's
true. But
it's a huge thumbs up. Platform trials is crazy because that's the ALS clock, you guys. That is moving these drugs through as many people as you can, as quickly as possible, to get that science that we need. And I wish we had that speed everywhere. It's an incredible.
We're building it. We're building momentum toward that day.
And
our friend Phil Green wants us to call you Sandy Bulldog Morris.
All right. I'll take that as a compliment, not as a play on how I look this morning.
So this is an interest. So from Kathy Mathis, sadly, most clinical trials have strict enrollment parameters, disqualifying people who have survived the disease beyond the 5-year mark. We don't get to help. How will we know if the treatment will work for the advanced stages? So I can take this from the Prosetin perspective, but then I'm also wondering if there's anything about this sort of time since diagnosis in your gold standard, Sandy. So I guess I would say, I think, you know, we've all acknowledged that there's a lot of sort of random inclusion and exclusion criteria in ALS clinical trials. It seems like people just kind of copy and paste from clinicaltrials.gov from one trial to the next. They don't actually ask whether these are like if these criteria make any sense. So I think that's an area where we're very focused. You know, with Prosetin, for example, there isn't going to be you must have been diagnosed within 2 years or 2 years since symptom onset. If there has to be any inclusion or exclusion, it will be based around, you know, the science and things that would actually maybe be a safety issue for being on the drug. But otherwise, people shouldn't be excluded from clinical trials just because they were diagnosed more than 2 years ago from today. But Sandy.
That's correct. Yeah, and that's sorry, that I really should have put that up. I'm noticing now I should have gold standard clinical trial design up. My apologies. That's right in there. If your eligibility criteria is not scientifically validated, we don't want to hear about it. If you're telling me your drug only works for people that, you know, are 59 years and 364 days old, okay. If you're telling me your drug only works for those that are, you know, been diagnosed within 18 months of symptoms, well, guess what? We're misdiagnosed all the time for years and years. So we absolutely have scientific validation of eligibility criteria in there, and we review them. We look to see what's in there, and we say, why? Why do you need this one? And then they say, you know, for this procedure, you have to have this much breathing or something. Okay, that's scientifically validated. You're telling me 18 months from symptoms, you're going to need to give me a little more. Know what your drug does. So I really love that question. I'm sorry I missed saying it earlier.
And then this is sort of a more speculative one from Saman Ahmed. So his dad has ALS, but he's not an American. So he's located in India. And I'm wondering if I AM ALS is thinking at all about sort of these people who, you know, maybe wouldn't benefit from the FDA guidelines or any of the legislative efforts in the US, but what expanded access programs or access to treatments could look like globally.
Well, we are absolutely hoping that our work expands worldwide. It's not a United States disease. I would move if it was, but no, it needs to expand globally. And also the promising therapies dashboard that's going to come out that that Nadia Sethi has just done an incredible job on. It's worldwide. Every promising treatment that we know that's coming up is worldwide. And this isn't just the United States. You need to be asking those same hard questions. Why am I in a clinical trial that looks like it's made for an animal? And how is it that you don't have an expanded access program for me, but you do for oncology down the road? Like, get brave, be fierce, like ask those questions. Nothing's going to change. If you keep saying yes to things that don't feel good, that's in everything in life. That person's not going to change. That trial's not going to change. That law's not going to change. Demand it.
Marjorie Stickler just wants to say that she recently got to learn from Sandy and believes we are all in great hands. I think we kind of all share that sentiment here.
I said that very same thing, because I think we all share that feeling. Sandy Morris, thank you so much for giving of your time and expertise today. We feel your energy. We're fueled by it at Project ALS, and we will post everyone on guidelines and news out of I AM ALS, which you can all access on your own at imals.org. So visit. And in the meantime, for Project ALS, next week on the live stream, Erin and I are going to be going a little bit back to science and giving you kind of an up-to-the-minute update on where is Prosetin on the science side, research-wise. How ready is this drug for clinical trial? And it's getting super ready. But in the meantime, remember that the only way for us to close the gap, to make up for lost time during the pandemic, is with your help. We want your questions and comments. We also really need your generosity, as you can give at www.prosetin2020.org. We realize that times are tougher than ever, but if you have $5, it goes a long way at Project ALS. We really know how to spend a buck smartly, right, Erin? And so next week's live stream will be guests to be determined, but it should be really exciting, because I think, Sandy, I hope you tune in. I think it'll give you a sense of exactly where Prosetin is. And we're just getting super excited about it. And thanks to you and I AM ALS, we're excited. We can see the future of Prosetin. God willing, it's tolerated and safe and effective. You have broken a pathway. We can start to see how a helpful drug might help more people with ALS. Thanks to you. So
we can't be more excited, Valerie. We're applauding every step of your way, and we are here with you guys. We're just really grateful. Again, working on the ALS clock means so much to us because we are on the ALS clock. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Sandy. And Erin, thanks. You have anything to wrap up?
No, thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Sandy, and we'll see you next week.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Bye.